Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our continuing series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, more specifically in this instance the Nintendo 64 core and different ROM hacks that work on real hardware. Because about 2 or 3 months ago I did a video on a ROM hack and you guys wanted to see a lot more, so I figured that's exactly what we would do today. So what we're going to do is different Super Mario 64 ROM hacks that are going to work in the core and don't require software emulation, because if you're not aware, there's some ROM hacks out there that will only work via emulation because they use certain features or speed ups that aren't on original hardware, but there's a ton more to play than just the retail library, and we're going to be checking it out today. Before we get far involved though, do me a huge favor, down below hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But right now we're taking a look at Mario's New Earth, which is one of the more fun ROM hacks in my opinion. It's got a ton of features, a ton of stars, a lot of different graphics incorporated within the game, and just feels kind of like a Bizarro World extension of Super Mario 64. And that is the fun thing about N64. Sure, it doesn't have the biggest retail library in the world, honestly it's one of the smaller ones, but there's so many fans out there making their own games, and some of them really do stand up to be something that you would want to play. So that's what I'd figure I'd take a look at today, different experiences that I would actually recommend. But as far as Mario's New Earth is concerned, it is just a lot of fun. It's got some complex platforming in it, definitely going to be a little bit more difficult than your traditional Super Mario 64, but it has all of the fun and all of the charm and a really interesting mechanic as well, which I'll show you in just a moment. But I love that flower patch there. I love how the lava is just kind of hanging over the level. It really does look nice with this floating structure right here, and it runs really well on the core too. That is something you might notice with other ROM hacks. They will work on real hardware or on FPGA cores, but they will run at a much slower frame rate because they're basically targeting software emulation and its ability to overclock some of the chips. But the good thing is we do have the Nintendo 64 Turbo Core as well, so we do have that advantage. If you notice some screen tearing, I'm not sure if that's in the capture or if it's in the actual game in and of itself. I'd have to go back and check, but that does happen every once in a while on some of these ROM hacks. But honestly, this just looks absolutely stunning on screen, especially with the HDMI out on MiSTer FPGA. And it's one of those things, more Mario in the Nintendo 64 style is always a good thing. It's one of the most charming 3D platformers out there, so getting new games within that style is 100% something that's going to be a fun time. But honestly, there's a lot of ways to pivot up on Super Mario 64. The next one is definitely a doozy. This is arthdc.ppt, basically a PowerPoint file, not in reality, but that's just the naming acronym, and it is a first-person game that actually is a Super Mario 64 ROM hack, just in some of the strangest ways possible. Kind of feels like it almost be a GoldenEye game or something like Perfect Dark from Rare, but it actually isn't. And you'll see here it does give you directions on what to do, and it starts as an office simulator. And I understand you're wondering where Mario's going to come in here, and if you haven't played this game before, it's going to be in the most unlikely of places. And if you have played it, don't comment down below and tell people what it is, because I like them to discover on their own in just a moment for themselves. But it is wild what modders can do out there with actual ROM hacks, thinking of the fact that you can actually turn something like Super Mario 64 and its engine into this first-person perspective, something that no one would really think of doing whatsoever, but it 100% works. And again, it is one of the most meta Mario hacks out there. Kind of feels a little bit like the Stanley Parable at the start, except the office is actually filled with people versus being empty and it just being Stanley left behind. You see there, you could even drink your coffee like you could in any office, and that's always a fun thing. There's so many little hidden details within this game. You'll see there as we go by, Mario is sitting at the table. Looks like he's having some drinks with friends, but as we go into the meeting room, this is where the game actually starts, and it is hilariously weird and hilariously difficult in all of the best ways, because you're going to see here we need to sit down and take a look at this PowerPoint presentation, and it just looks like anything you'd see on a projector screen. When you actually sit down at the monitor, that is when all of the wild weirdness is going to start to happen. I love the inventive, creative nature of this game. I can't believe somebody thought this up, but it just 100% works, because Mario is going to appear in the PowerPoint presentation, and it's basically going to be a very difficult jumping game to try to get that star. And it's going to be your first sound sample as well, because it's got some great sounds and sound effects. Listen, I'll be right back with more ROM hacks that work.
Mamma mia! 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 Woohoo! Mamma! Woohoo! Mamma mia!
Honestly, that was way longer of a sound sample than I needed to make you listen to, but due to the meta nature of this ROM hack, I wanted to see how long you'd listen to Mario just say Mamma Mia and Do over and over again. And if you take too much time, you do get fired and you have to start over. But this is such a wild ROM hack. It basically takes Mario and puts him in a completely different situation, and some of these platforming levels are absolutely massively challenging. You're going to feel accomplished when you get by each and every one of them, and I can't recommend this one enough, just so you can see what type of creativity is out there in the Mario ROM hacking community. And again, it is another game that'll work on MiSTer FPGA. Now moving over to Super Mario and the Monstrous Manor, this is another really interesting ROM hack that has some very challenging jumps as well as some secrets in it that are really going to be fun to discover. And I'd say on the presentation front, from the intro here all the way through to the end of the game, it is one of the prettier, more well thought out and designed ROM hacks. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what's your favorite Super Mario 64 hack out there. There are so many different ones to test, and if you guys like watching these videos, leave me some more recommendations down below and maybe I will do some more in the future, because again, with the Nintendo 64 library being pretty thin across North America, PAL territories, as well as Japan, these sort of games, these fan games, give way more life to the hardware, and people are still figuring out things that the hardware can do today that developers didn't realize back in the day. And I love that this Monster Manor here actually looks like Mario or Luigi's face as you run up towards it. It's a small touch, but this ROM hack is filled with those small touches that really make it seem like the developers were going in with intent to try to make something that really would feel close to a retail game. And it runs absolutely great on the frame rate as far as the MiSTer is concerned, with all these big open areas, which is always nice to see. You want something that maintains that Mario frame rate. But as we go inside, it gets even more fun and weirder, and that's always something that I really appreciate. It feels like something that could have been in Super Mario 64, but it feels different at the same time. And it's definitely a puzzle platformer by nature here. You're going to see that door is blocked off, and we need to figure out how to actually pass through it. I'm not going to give you all the secrets in the game. I want you to play these and discover them for yourself. So definitely just remember, always be looking around for something, but at least now you know where that trigger is for the door. And as we go inside, again, this is just platforming difficulty 101. It's going to give you so many challenging jumps, and if you fall into the black goo there even once, you're going to be sent back. So you need to be really good on the control stick, and if you haven't played Super Mario 64 in a while, it'll definitely give you a little bit of hell. But it's also going to give you our second sound sample, way more fun than hearing Mario just say Mamma Mia over and over again. So listen but come back, because I got more games to show. Honestly, some really eerie music there. Now, unfortunately, not every single ROM hack is going to work. This is Totsugeki 64, which definitely maybe isn't something that you have to try out there, but you will see that it does have some graphical issues on the MiSTer FPGA core. I haven't tried this on my Nintendo 64 yet, but there's some ROM hacks out there that will have these same issues on real hardware, but will still run, and that is because, again, a lot of developers basically target software emulation versus real hardware, so they can get even more power out of the Nintendo 64 than the hardware is capable of doing. So if you jump into a ROM hack and you see something like this, it is just kind of part and parcel how these things work. They can have graphical glitches, they can have corruption, nothing that's ever going to hurt anything, but it's one of those things you might just notice it here and there, so do be prepared for that. But honestly, I love the concept of this ROM hack, and if you do want to check it out, you can just pop over to Ares and load it up. You should be totally fine. And if you are going to download a bunch of ROM hacks to play on MiSTer FPGA or your original hardware, if you want to save yourself a tiny bit of time, definitely look up and see the reviews on the ROM hacking sites as to how well they run on real hardware. Because sometimes you will see runs on real hardware, yes, flag set, but then if you read the comments, you're going to see that it does have issues like you see here. I mean, a half a chain chomp just disappearing into the ether is kind of a fun look, but unfortunately, something that wouldn't really be playable on MiSTer FPGA or real hardware. And unfortunately, the next one I really wanted to work because I have played it on emulation. It's a ton of fun. This is Only Up 64, which is basically taking the concept of Only Up, an incredibly challenging game, and recreating it in the world of Super Mario 64. I really wanted this one to actually be able to play on MiSTer FPGA, but just wasn't in the mood today. But if you ever played this on real Nintendo 64 hardware, let me know how it went, because I didn't load this one up into my flash cart before I went ahead and tried it on MiSTer FPGA. If I had to pick one winner of this ROM hacking set, RHDC.ppt, the PowerPoint emulator with Super Mario 64 platforming, has 100% got to be my favorite amongst the bunch. It is such a creative, strange pivot on the Super Mario 64 formula, and trust me, the platforming in here is precise, and you have to be basically perfect to be able to pull some of it off. And the screen will also move as well, kind of even changing up some of the gravity at times. It just wants to screw with you in all the funniest ways. But if you want to see another video, let me know down below. But we're done. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.